My name is Jade. I am 31 and I spent 3 months planning my best friend's baby shower. Courtney and I had been inseparable for 10 years, but when my husband Derek stood up and said, "We have to go," I had no idea he was about to reveal something that would shatter everything. Before I share what truly happened, let me know where you are watching from and hit like and subscribe. Because when Derek finished, every person in that room turned to look at me. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can understand just how deep this betrayal cut. I am Jade, 31 years old, and I work as a marketing director at a cosmetics company in Denver, Colorado. It is a demanding job, but I love it. I have built my career from the ground up over the past 8 years, starting as an entry-level assistant and climbing my way to the top through late nights, endless presentations, and more cups of coffee than I can count. 4 years ago, I married Derek. He is 34 now, and he works as an IT security consultant at a financial firm downtown. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, and from the moment we started talking, I knew he was different. He listened, really listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but genuinely absorbing every word I said. 6 months later, he proposed on a hiking trail in Rocky Mountain National Park, and I said yes before he even finished the question. We live in a small 2-bedroom house in the Highlands neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it is ours. We painted the walls ourselves, picked out furniture together, and spent countless weekends turning it into a home. Derek wants to add a deck in the backyard. I want a garden. We joke about who will win that argument, but the truth is, we both know we will end up doing both eventually. For the past 2 years, we have been trying to have a baby. It has not been easy. Last year, I got pregnant. We were so excited. Derek bought a tiny pair of yellow socks the day we found out, even though I told him it was too early. I let myself imagine everything. The nursery, the first steps, the birthday parties. I even started a Pinterest board called Future Baby Martinez. Then at 10 weeks, I lost the pregnancy. I remember sitting in the doctor's office, staring at the ultrasound screen, waiting to see a heartbeat that never came. Derek held my hand so tight I thought he might break it. The doctor's voice sounded far away, like she was speaking through water. I heard the words, but they did not make sense. How could something I wanted so badly just disappear? The months after that were dark. I went through the motions at work, smiled when I was supposed to smile, laughed when I was supposed to laugh. But inside I felt hollow. Derek was my rock through all of it. He never pushed me to talk when I was not ready. He never told me to move on or get over it. He just stayed, present, patient, loving. So when Courtney called me 4 months ago to tell me she was pregnant, I felt a complicated storm of emotions. Courtney and I met during our freshman year at University of Colorado Boulder. We lived in the same dormitory rooms directly across the hall from each other. The first week of school during freshman orientation, we both got hopelessly lost, trying to find the student union building. We wandered around campus for an hour, laughing at ourselves, until we finally gave up and grabbed pizza instead. By the end of that night, I knew we would be friends forever. And for a decade, we were. 4 years of college, inseparable. We pulled all-nighters together before exams, cried on each other's shoulders. After breakups, celebrated every achievement, no matter how small. After graduation, we both stayed in Denver. We even rented an apartment together for 2 years in Capitol Hill. Those were some of the best times of my life. Courtney worked as a freelance event planner back then. Her income was inconsistent, but she was creative and passionate. I was the stable one climbing the corporate ladder, while she chased her artistic dreams. We balanced each other out. Over time, though, I started noticing things about Courtney that I chose to ignore. She had a tendency to exaggerate. Not in a harmful way, I told myself. Just embellishments. Like the time she went to Paris for a long weekend, but talked about it for months, like she had lived there. Or when she met a minor celebrity at a coffee shop and told everyone they had become close friends. I always brushed it off as Courtney being Courtney. She liked attention. She liked being interesting. It was part of her charm. At least that is what I told myself. 3 years ago, Courtney met Brandon Clark at an event she was planning. He was 36, successful, handsome, in that polished businessman way. He worked as a commercial real estate broker and made more money in a month than I made in 6. They started dating, and within 6 months they were engaged. I was her maid of honor. The wedding was in Aspen. Gorgeous venue, designer dress, 300 guests. Brandon paid for everything. After the ceremony, Courtney quit event planning entirely. She said she wanted to focus on being a wife. Brandon supported her decision. He could afford to. Her life changed dramatically after that. They bought a house in Cherry Creek, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Denver. She drove a new Lexus, her closet filled with designer bags and shoes. She started posting photos on social media that looked like they belonged in a magazine. I was happy for her, truly. But sometimes when we got together, I noticed a shift. She would make subtle comments about my house, my car, my choices. Nothing overtly mean, just little jabs wrapped in concern. "Oh, you are still driving that Honda. You know they have great lease deals right now." Or, "This restaurant is cute, but next time let me pick. I know some amazing places." I ignored those comments too. Because she was my best friend. Because 10 years of friendship had to mean something. Because I loved her. 4 months ago, Courtney called me with news that made me forget every doubt I ever had. "I am pregnant," she screamed into the phone. 8 weeks along, Jade. I am going to be a mom. I burst into tears. Happy tears, I told myself, and they were mostly. But underneath the joy, there was a sharp ache I could not name. Here I was, 31 years old, desperately wanting a baby, still healing from a miscarriage. And Courtney, who had never even mentioned wanting children, was pregnant. I pushed that ache down deep where no one could see it. Because good friends do not feel jealous. Good friends celebrate. Good friends show up. And when Courtney asked me to plan her baby shower, because you are the only one I trust, I said yes, without hesitation. I threw myself into the planning with everything I had. Maybe it was my way of processing my own grief. Maybe it was my way of proving I could be happy for someone else, even when my own heart was breaking. Whatever the reason, I was determined to make this the most beautiful baby shower Courtney had ever seen. The next 3 months consumed my life. I chose a theme that I knew Courtney would love. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Elegant, whimsical, perfect for the daughter she was expecting. The color palette was white gold and navy blue. I spent hours scrolling through Pinterest, bookmarking ideas, creating mood boards. For the venue, I booked the Manor House in Littleton. It had a stunning garden, perfect for an outdoor celebration. The rental alone cost $800. Then there were the decorations, white carnations arranged in crystal vases, fairy lights strung through the trees, a custom backdrop with the words, "Twinkle, twinkle, baby Clark," in gold calligraphy. I ordered the cake from a bakery in Denver that I had been admiring for years, but never had a reason to visit. 3 tiers covered in smooth white fondant decorated with delicate fondant stars and a crescent moon. The bakery charged $350. I paid without blinking. For Courtney's gift, I bought the stroller she had been not so subtly hinting about. An UPPAbaby Vista, top of the line, $900. I told myself it was worth it. This was my best friend. This was her first baby. She deserved the best. In total, I spent $2,500 of my own savings on this shower. Courtney mentioned once that Brandon would reimburse me after the party. He never did. And I never asked. Derek noticed the expenses piling up. "Babe, that is a lot of money for a baby shower," he said one evening as I showed him the cake design I had chosen. She would do the same for me, I replied. Derek did not say anything else. He just nodded and went back to his laptop. But I caught something in his expression. Doubt, maybe, or concern. I chose not to examine it too closely. As the weeks passed and the party date approached, I started noticing things that did not quite add up. The first strange thing was the ultrasound photos. I asked Courtney multiple times to show me pictures of the baby. Every expecting mother I knew had dozens of ultrasound images saved on their phone, ready to share at a moment's notice. But Courtney always had an excuse. The quality was bad, she would say. I will show you when I get the next one. Somehow that next one never came. The second strange thing was the doctor appointments. I offered several times to go with her. I wanted to be there to support her to see the baby on the screen, but every time I suggested it, something came up. Brandon already took off work for this one, she would say, or the appointment got rescheduled. I will let you know the new date. She never did. The third strange thing was her belly. I know this sounds odd, but her bump seemed inconsistent. Some days when we met for lunch, it looked noticeably larger. Other days it seemed smaller. I told myself it was the clothes she was wearing. Loose dresses could minimize fitted ones, could emphasize. That was normal, right? The fourth strange thing was the complete absence of pregnancy symptoms. Courtney never complained about morning sickness, never mentioned being tired, never talked about swollen ankles or back pain, or any of the dozens of discomforts pregnant women experience. When I asked how she was feeling, she always said the same thing. I am just lucky, I guess. And then there was the fifth strange thing. About 6 weeks before the shower, I stopped by Courtney's house unannounced. I was in the neighborhood and thought I would surprise her with the fabric samples I had picked out for the party napkins. I knocked on the front door. No answer. I knocked again, still nothing. But her car was in the garage. I could see it through the window. I waited on the porch, confused. 10 minutes passed before Courtney finally opened the door. Her face was flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. "Sorry," she said, breathlessly. I was napping, but her makeup was perfect. Her hair, despite being a little messy, was clearly styled. And there was something in her eyes. A flicker of panic quickly masked. I handed her the fabric samples and left without staying for coffee. That night, lying in bed next to Derek, I almost said something. I almost voiced the suspicion that had been growing in the back of my mind like a weed I could not quite pull. But I stopped myself. Because what was I going to say, that I thought my best friend of 10 years was lying about being pregnant? That sounded insane. It sounded jealous. It sounded like something a bitter woman struggling with infertility would invent to make herself feel better. So I said nothing. I buried the doubt and threw myself back into party planning. But someone else had noticed too, and unlike me, he was not willing to stay silent. 1 week before the baby shower, Derek came home from a business trip to Phoenix. He had been gone for 3 days, and I was excited to see him. But when he walked through the door, something was different. He was quiet, distracted. He hugged me, but his mind was somewhere else. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just work stuff," he replied. But he did not look at me when he said it. Over the next few days, Derek's behavior grew increasingly strange. He spent hours on his phone texting people I could not see. He stayed up late in his home office with the door closed. Once I woke up at 2 in the morning and found his side of the bed empty. I walked down the hall and saw light coming from under his office door. When I opened it, he slammed his laptop shut so fast it made me jump. "Sorry," he said. "Did not want to wake you." "What are you working on?" "Just some security stuff for a client." Boring. He was lying, I could feel it. But I was too afraid to push. Too afraid of what I might find. 3 days before the shower, Derek asked me something that made my blood run cold. "Are you sure you want this party to happen?" I stared at him. "What do you mean I have been planning for months? He He trailed off, rubbed the back of his neck. Nothing. Forget I said anything. Derek, if something is wrong, tell me. He looked at me for a long moment. His eyes were filled with something I could not quite read. Pain, maybe. Or determination. I love you, he finally said. No matter what happens, remember that. He walked away before I could respond. For 3 days, those words haunted me. I did not know what he meant. I did not know what was coming. All I knew was that something was very, very wrong. The morning of the baby shower arrived with clear blue skies and perfect weather. I woke at 5:30, too anxious to sleep any longer. Derek was still in bed, or at least pretending to be. I kissed his forehead gently. See you at the venue at 2, I whispered. Yeah, he murmured without opening his eyes. I drove to the manor house as the sun was rising over the mountains. The decorators I had hired were already there unloading boxes of flowers and supplies. For the next 6 hours, I transformed the garden into a fairy tale. White carnations spilled from crystal vases on every table. Fairy lights wound through the branches of the old oak tree that anchored the space. The backdrop looked even more stunning in person than it had in my imagination. Twinkle, twinkle baby Clark sparkled in the morning light. The cake arrived at 11, 3 perfect tiers of white fondant adorned with edible gold stars and a delicate crescent moon topper. I took approximately 47 photos of it from every angle. By noon, everything was ready. I sent Courtney a photo of the finished setup. Everything is perfect, I wrote. Cannot wait to see you. She replied an hour later with a single heart emoji. No words, no excitement. Just a heart. At the time, I thought she was just overwhelmed with anticipation. Now I know she was overwhelmed with something else entirely. The guests started arriving at 1 o'clock. First came Darlene Courtney's mother. She was a petite woman in her late 50s, with the same blonde hair as her daughter. She carried an enormous gift bag stuffed with pink tissue paper, and immediately started crying when she saw the decorations. "Oh, Jade," she said, pulling me into a hug. "This is beautiful. Courtney is so lucky to have a friend like you." Behind her came Morgan Courtney's younger sister, 27, dark hair, quieter than Courtney, but with a sharp wit that surfaced unexpectedly. She surveyed the garden with an approving nod and handed me a bottle of champagne for the toast. Friends filtered in over the next hour. Tiffany and Brooke, friends from college, former co-workers from Courtney's event planning days. Neighbors, distant relatives. By 2 o'clock, 38 people filled the garden, all dressed in soft pastels and carrying beautifully wrapped gifts. Derek arrived last. He was wearing a navy blue button-down shirt that I had bought him for his birthday. He looked handsome, but his face was tense, pale. His jaw was clenched in a way I had come to recognize over 4 years of marriage. "You okay?" I asked, hugging him. "You look pale." "I am fine," he said. But his eyes were scanning the crowd, searching for someone. "Where is Courtney?" "She is coming at 2:30. Grand entrance, you know how she is." Derek nodded slowly, but he did not smile. At exactly 2:30, a white Lexus pulled into the parking area. The crowd turned in unison, phones raised ready to capture the moment. Courtney emerged from the passenger side. Brandon was beside her, one hand on the small of her back. She was wearing a flowing white maxi dress that draped elegantly over her rounded belly. Her blonde hair cascaded in perfect waves over her shoulders. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like a goddess. Everyone applauded as she walked toward the garden. I rushed forward to meet her, my heart swelling with something I wanted to believe was pure happiness. "You look gorgeous," I said, wrapping my arms around her. "Thank you for everything, Jade," she replied. "This is amazing." But when I pulled back, I noticed she was not quite meeting my eyes. Her gaze kept sliding away, landing on the decorations, the guests anywhere but directly on me. And when I hugged her, something felt wrong. Her belly was hard, not firm in the way a pregnant belly should be, but hard, stiff, like pressing against a shell. I pushed the thought away immediately. Stop it, I told myself. Stop looking for problems where there are none. The party began in earnest. Guests mingled champagne, flowed laughter, filled the air. I had planned games to keep everyone entertained. Guess the baby's weight. Predict the birth date. A onesie decorating station. Courtney sat in the center of it all, like a queen on her throne. People approached her constantly, touching her arm, admiring her glow, asking about nursery plans and baby names. But I kept noticing things. When Tiffany reached out to touch Courtney's belly, Courtney flinched backward. "Oh," she said quickly, "the baby is kicking a lot today." I am a little sensitive. But her stomach remained completely still. No visible movement, no ripple of a kick. Brandon kept leaving to take phone calls. Every 15 minutes he would slip away to the edge of the garden phone, pressed to his ear, face serious. I assumed it was work. Real estate never sleeps. And Derek. Derek would not take his eyes off Courtney and Brandon. He stood in the corner of the garden, arms crossed over his chest, watching them like a hawk, tracking its prey. I approached him between games. "Something is wrong," I said quietly. "What is it?" He looked at me, and for a moment I thought he was going to tell me everything. "I need to tell you something," he said. "But not here. Not now." "Derek, you are scaring me." "Trust me," he replied. "I am trying to protect you." "Protect me from what?" Before he could answer, Courtney's voice rang out across the garden. "Jade, time for gifts." I glanced at Derek, torn. "Go," he said. "We will talk after." I walked toward the gift table where Courtney was settling into the decorated chair I had set up for her. Guests gathered around phones ready to document every opened package. Derek stayed in his corner, watching, waiting. Courtney began opening gifts with practiced enthusiasm. The first was from Darlene, a complete set of newborn clothes in soft pink and white, each piece hand-selected and wrapped in tissue paper. Courtney held up a tiny dress with embroidered flowers and pressed it to her chest. "Mom, this is perfect," she cooed. The second gift came from Morgan, an expensive breast pump top of the line, still in its sealed box. Courtney's smile flickered for just a moment before she recovered. "Thank you, sis. I will definitely need this." Gift after gift piled around her. Blankets, bibs, books, a baby monitor with a camera, a handcrafted mobile of stars and moons that one of her friends had made specially for the nursery. I watched from the side, mentally checking items off the registry I had memorized. Everything was going according to plan. The guests were happy. The decorations were beautiful. The cake waited in all its three-tiered glory for the perfect moment. Then came my gift. I had placed it strategically. Gift number 12 out of 15. Courtney tore away the wrapping paper and gasped when she saw the UPA-Baby logo. "Jade!" she exclaimed, pulling the box toward her. "This is the one I wanted, I know," I said, smiling, despite the tension coiled in my stomach. Only the best for baby Clark. Guests murmured approvingly. $900 well spent, their expressions seemed to say. 3 more gifts remained. Courtney reached for number 13, a set of crib sheets from one of her neighbors. That was when Derek moved. He had been standing so still in his corner that I had almost forgotten he was there. But suddenly he was walking, cutting through the crowd, moving with purpose toward the center of the garden where Courtney sat, surrounded by torn wrapping paper and baby clothes. "I am sorry," he said, his voice carrying clearly over the murmur of conversation. "We have to go." The garden fell silent. I stepped forward, confusion and embarrassment warring in my chest. Derek, what are you doing? He did not look at me. His eyes were locked on Courtney. But before we leave, he continued, Everyone here deserves to know the truth. Courtney's face went white. Derek, what are you talking about? Brandon rose from his seat at the edge of the group. Man, this is not the time or place. This is exactly the time and place Derek said. Because everyone in this room just spent hundreds of dollars, some of them thousands, on gifts for a baby that does not exist. The silence that followed was absolute. No one breathed. No one moved. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. Derek, I heard myself say. What are you saying? He finally turned to look at me. His eyes were filled with pain, with sorrow, with love. Jade, I am so sorry. But Courtney is not pregnant. She never was. The garden erupted. Gasps, exclamations. Someone dropped their champagne glass and it shattered against the stone patio. Darlene clutched her chest like she was having a heart attack. That is ridiculous, she cried. I have seen her belly grow. Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. It is a prosthetic, he said. A fake belly. She has been wearing it for months. And I have proof. He tapped his screen and held it up for everyone to see. Last week he began his voice steady. Despite the chaos around him, I was supposed to be in Phoenix for work. But my flight got delayed, so I spent the night in Denver. I stopped at a bar downtown to grab dinner. He paused, letting the words sink in. And that is where I saw Courtney. He swiped to a photo. The image showed Courtney sitting at a corner table in what looked like an upscale bar. She was holding a cocktail in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Her stomach was completely flat. She was wearing a crop top, her midriff fully exposed. There was no baby bump, no roundness, nothing. The crowd leaned in, trying to see the screen. Some people covered their mouths in shock. Derek continued. I did not believe what I was seeing. So I waited. I followed her to the parking lot when she left. He swiped to the next image. A video. In the footage, Courtney stood next to her car trunk open. She reached inside and pulled out what looked like a flesh-colored pillow. As everyone watched in horrified silence, Courtney lifted her shirt and strapped the prosthetic belly around her waist. The transformation was disturbing in its seamlessness. One moment, flat stomach. The next, 6 months, pregnant. Derek lowered his phone. She has been lying, he said. To all of you, but especially to Jade. Every single person in that garden turned to look at me. Not with accusation, with pity, with shock, with the dawning realization that I, the best friend who had planned this entire event, who had spent thousands of dollars, who had believed every word, was the biggest fool in the room. I could not move. I could not breathe. The world tilted sideways, and for a moment I thought I might faint. But I did not. Instead, I looked at Courtney. She was still sitting in her decorated chair, surrounded by gifts meant for a baby that did not exist. Her face had crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks, smearing her perfect makeup. And in that moment, I saw her clearly for the first time in 10 years. I walked toward her. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else, but they carried me forward anyway, through the crowd of stunned guests, past the gift table with its mountain of useless presents, past Derek, who reached for my hand, but let me go when I did not stop. I stood in front of Courtney. Is it true? My voice came out steadier than I expected. Calm, even, like the question was simple, like the answer would not destroy everything. Courtney looked up at me through her tears. For a long moment she said nothing. Is it true? I repeated. She nodded. The simple confirmation hit me harder than any explanation could have. I felt something crack inside my chest. 10 years of friendship. 10 years of memories. 10 years of believing she was my person, my ride or die, the sister I never had. All of it built on lies. Why, I asked. Why would you do this? Courtney's face contorted with emotion, something between shame and desperation. I just wanted everyone to pay attention to me, she sobbed. I wanted to feel special. I wanted people to care about me the way they care about you, the way they care about me. The words did not make sense. I stared at her, trying to understand. You have everything, Jade. She continued, her voice rising. The career, the husband who adores you, everyone always talking about how amazing you are, how successful, how perfect. I am not. And when you had your miscarriage, she said, and the word hit me like a physical blow. Everyone was so worried about you. Everyone wanted to help you. Everyone cared so much about poor Jade and her loss. I could not speak. I wanted that, Courtney said. I wanted people to care about me like that. So I told Brandon I was pregnant. And then I told you. And it got out of control. I was going to say I had a miscarriage next week. That was the plan. A plan, I repeated. This was all a plan. I never meant to hurt you. You never meant to hurt me. My voice cracked. The calm I had been holding on to shattered. You spent 3 months watching me plan this shower. You let me spend thousands of dollars on gifts for a baby that does not exist. You sat with me and listened to me talk about my miscarriage, about how much I wanted a baby, about how hard it has been. And you were lying the entire time. Courtney reached for my hand. Jade, please. I stepped back before she could touch me. Brandon had been standing frozen at the edge of the group. Now he spoke, his voice hollow. You told me you were pregnant, Courtney. We have been picking out names. We talked about converting the guest room into a nursery. Courtney turned to him, panic in her eyes. Brandon, I can explain. No. No, you cannot. He shook his head slowly. We are done. I want a divorce. Brandon, please. He turned and walked away without looking back. Darlene stepped forward, her face a mask of disbelief and grief. My own daughter, she said quietly. How could you do this? Courtney broke down completely. She sobbed so hard her whole body shook. The fake belly beneath her dress suddenly looked grotesque. A costume. A prop in a play that had finally reached its tragic end. People began to leave. One by one, guests picked up the gifts they had brought and walked toward the parking lot. Some murmured apologies to me as they passed. Others just shook their heads in silence. Tiffany grabbed the crib she had bought and did not say a word to anyone. Within 20 minutes, only a handful of people remained. Derek. Me, Courtney's family. And Courtney herself, still sitting in that ridiculous decorated chair, mascara running down her cheeks. Morgan approached me quietly. Jade, I am so sorry. I had no idea, none of us did. I nodded, but I could not form words. Darlene took her daughter's arm. You need help, she said firmly. Professional help. I am calling Dr. Simmons on Monday. She helped Courtney to her feet and led her toward the parking lot. Courtney looked back at me, once her expression begging for something I could not give. Then she was gone. I stood alone in the middle of the ruined party. The fairy light still twinkled in the trees. The backdrop still sparkled with its golden letters. The cake sat untouched, 3 perfect tiers of lies. Derek appeared beside me. We should go, he said softly. No. I shook my head. Not yet. I need to understand. I turned to face him fully. How did you know? When did you figure it out? He took a deep breath. That night at the bar was not the first time I suspected something. I have been noticing things for weeks. The way she avoided certain questions, the way her belly looked different depending on the day, the way she never let anyone get too close. Why did you not tell me sooner? Because I needed to be sure. And because—" He paused. "Because I knew if I told you privately you would not believe me. You would have made excuses for her. You would have convinced yourself I was wrong." I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. He was right. I would have defended her. I would have protected her, even from the truth. "So you waited until now," I said, "until everyone could see." "I did not want to humiliate you," Derek said. "I wanted to set you free. There is a difference." For a long moment, I just looked at him. My husband. The man who loved me enough to risk everything to protect me. Then I collapsed into his arms and finally let myself cry. The drive home was silent. Derek kept one hand on my knee the entire way, a steady anchor as my world crumbled around me. I stared out the window without seeing anything. The mountains. The traffic. The city I had called home for over a decade. None of it registered. When we got to the house, I went straight to the couch and curled into a ball. Derek sat beside me, not speaking, just present. He knew me well enough to understand that I was not ready for words yet. Eventually the tears came. Not pretty tears. Ugly, heaving sobs that shook my entire body. I cried for the friendship I thought I had, for the years I had invested in someone who saw me as competition instead of a companion, for the baby shower I had poured my heart into, for the money I had spent that I would never get back. And underneath all of that, I cried for myself, for the naive woman who trusted too easily, who gave too much, who ignored every red flag because she wanted so badly to believe the best in people. Derek held me through all of it. He did not try to fix me. He did not offer platitudes or solutions. He just stayed. When the sobs finally subsided, I looked up at him with swollen eyes. "Why did you not tell me before the party? The full story." He sighed. "That night at the bar when I first saw her, I thought I was losing my mind. I took the photos because I needed proof for myself. Then I started digging. Looking into things. Trying to find out if there was any chance I was wrong, and I found out she has been going to that bar regularly. Always alone. Always without the belly. One of the bartenders recognized her from a photo I showed him, said she comes in a few times a month." I closed my eyes. "I thought about confronting her privately," Derek continued, "or telling you before the shower so you could decide what to do. But I kept playing out the scenarios in my head, and every single one ended the same way. You making excuses for her, you giving her another chance. You letting her talk her way out of it. You think I am that gullible, I think you are that loyal," he said gently. "And she would have used that against you. Again." He was not wrong. If Derek had come to me 2 days ago and said, "Jade, I think Courtney is faking her pregnancy," what would I have done? I would have defended her. I would have demanded more proof. I would have given her the opportunity to spin another lie. By revealing the truth publicly, Derek had eliminated all escape routes. For Courtney and for me. "I feel so stupid," I whispered. "You are not stupid." He cupped my face in his hands. "You are kind. You see the best in people. That is not a weakness, Jade. It is a gift. She just did not deserve it." The next 3 days passed in a blur. I called in sick to work. I could not face anyone. Word had already spread through our social circle like wildfire. Someone at the party had recorded portions of Derek's revelation and posted it online. The video had gone viral. Millions of people were now discussing the baby shower liar, as the internet had dubbed Courtney. My phone buzzed constantly with messages, friends checking in, acquaintances who had heard the news, even strangers somehow found my contact information and reached out with support or curiosity or judgment. I ignored all of it. Instead, I spent my days in bed cycling through the 5 stages of grief. Denial. I would wake up convinced it had all been a nightmare, then remember it was real. Anger. I would rage at Courtney, at myself, at the universe for letting this happen. Bargaining. Maybe there was an explanation I had missed. Maybe she was mentally ill and could not help it. Depression. The weight of betrayal pressing down on me until I could barely breathe. And finally, slowly, acceptance. It happened. It was real. And now I had to figure out how to move forward. On the fourth day, I got out of bed, I showered, I got dressed. I sat down at my laptop and started writing, not for anyone else, just for myself. I wrote about everything. The friendship, the warning signs I had ignored, the moment of revelation, the aftermath. When I finished, I felt lighter, not healed, not whole, but lighter. That evening, Morgan called. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Jade. I am so sorry, she said immediately. I had no idea what Courtney was doing. None of us did. I know, I replied. It is not your fault. She told me what had been happening since the shower. Brandon had filed for divorce. He was demanding Courtney return half the cost of their wedding. Darlene had taken Courtney to see a psychiatrist. The initial diagnosis was something called histrionic personality disorder, a condition characterized by attention-seeking behavior, emotional instability, and a tendency to dramatize or exaggerate. It did not excuse what she did, Morgan said carefully, but it might explain it. I thanked her for calling. I told her I was not ready to forgive Courtney, that I might never be. I understand, Morgan said. Just know that if you ever want to talk, I am here. After we hung up, I sat with that information for a long time. A personality disorder, a clinical explanation for years of lies and manipulation. It made sense in a clinical way, but it did not change what she had done. It did not undo the damage. Over the following weeks, I started therapy, not because of Courtney specifically, because I needed to understand myself. Why had I ignored so many warning signs? Why had I given so much to someone who gave so little in return? Why did I feel guilty for being angry? My therapist helped me see the patterns. I had a tendency toward people-pleasing, toward putting others' needs above my own, toward avoiding conflict at all costs, even when it cost me everything. Courtney had recognized those tendencies and exploited them for years, but the fault was not entirely mine. She was responsible for her actions. I was only responsible for how I responded to them, and I chose to respond by rebuilding. The weeks turned into months. Slowly, painfully, I began to heal. I went back to work. My colleagues were supportive without being intrusive. They did not ask questions. They just let me know they were there if I needed them. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the years I was so focused on Courtney. Good friends, real friends, people who showed up not because they wanted something, but because they genuinely cared. Derek and I grew closer than ever. The crisis had tested us and we had emerged stronger. He never said I told you so, never made me feel foolish for trusting Courtney. He just loved me consistently and completely. 3 months after the shower, I woke up one morning and realized I had not thought about Courtney in over a week. That felt like progress. The news about her continued to trickle in through various sources. Her divorce from Brandon was finalized. He had been ruthless in the proceedings, demanding not only the return of wedding costs, but also compensation for emotional damage. Courtney had to sell several of her designer bags and pieces of jewelry to pay the settlement. She moved back in with Darlene. She continued therapy. According to Morgan, she was making progress. Learning to understand why she behaved the way she did. Learning healthier ways to seek attention and validation. I was glad for her in an abstract way, not because I forgave her, but because I genuinely hoped she would get better. for her own sake, for the sake of anyone she might interact with in the future. About 4 months after everything fell apart, I received a letter in the mail. The return address was Darlene's house. I recognized Courtney's handwriting on the envelope. For a long moment, I just held it, feeling the weight of it in my hands, wondering if I should open it at all. Finally, I did. The letter was 3 pages long, written by hand. Courtney did not ask for forgiveness. She did not make excuses. She simply apologized for everything, for the lies, for the manipulation, for using my kindness against me. She wrote about her therapy, about the diagnosis, about the hard work she was doing to understand herself and change her behavior. "I never realized how much I was hurting you," she wrote. "I was so focused on what I wanted that I could not see what I was destroying. You deserved a real friend. I was not that. And I am so sorry." The letter ended with a simple statement. "I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not even expect you to respond. I just needed you to know that I see now what I could not see before. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the person you thought I was." I read the letter 3 times, then I put it in my desk drawer. I did not respond. Maybe I would someday. Maybe I would not. But for now, I needed to focus on my own healing, my own growth, my own future. And that future was looking brighter every day. 6 months have passed since that baby shower. I am a different person now. Not broken, not bitter, just different. Wiser, stronger, more aware of my own worth and my own boundaries. Last month, I received a promotion at work, Senior Marketing Director, a title I had been working toward for years. The announcement came with a raise, a bigger office, and a team of people who report directly to me. Derek cried when I told him. Happy tears, proud tears, the kind of tears that remind you why you chose the person you chose. Our marriage is stronger than it has ever been. We talk more now about everything, about our fears and hopes and dreams, about the hard things we used to avoid. We have also made a decision about our future. Next month, we are starting IVF. Not because we feel pressure, not because we are trying to fill a void, but because we are ready. Both of us. Together. Whatever happens, we will face it as a team. I have also made new friends. Real friends. People from my therapy support group who understand what it feels like to be betrayed by someone you trusted. We meet for coffee every other Saturday. We share stories. We laugh. We remind each other that healing is not linear, but it is possible. As for Courtney, I have not seen her since that day in the garden. Morgan still calls occasionally. She tells me Courtney is doing better, working part-time at a nonprofit, continuing therapy, building a life that does not depend on lies. I hope she finds peace. I truly do. But that peace will not include me. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. And that is okay. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Not every friend is meant to stay. The ones who do, though, the ones who love you honestly, who show up consistently, who tell you hard truths, even when it would be easier to stay silent. Those are the ones worth keeping. Derek taught me that. Looking back at everything that happened, people often ask me if I am angry at Derek for exposing Courtney publicly instead of telling me privately. My answer is always the same. No. Derek knew me better than I knew myself. He knew that if he had told me alone, I would have made excuses for her. I would have protected her at my own expense. I would have hurt myself to spare her feelings. By revealing the truth in front of everyone, Derek eliminated every escape route. He made sure there was no room for denial, no space for more lies. He did not humiliate me. He set me free. That day at the baby shower, when every person in the room turned to look at me, I felt humiliated, embarrassed, pitied. I felt like the biggest fool in Colorado. But 6 months later, I understand something different. They were not looking at me with pity. They were looking at me with admiration, because I was the one who had the courage to walk away. Losing a best friend is like losing a part of yourself, a part you thought would always be there, a part you built memories around, made plans with trusted, with your secrets. But sometimes, that part needs to go so you can become whole. Courtney took a lot from me: time, money, trust. Years of my life I can never get back. Years of friendship that turned out to be an illusion. But she also gave me something unexpected: clarity. I know now what real friendship looks like. It looks like showing up even when it is hard. It looks like telling the truth even when it hurts. It looks like loving someone enough to let them see themselves clearly, even if it means risking everything. Real friendship does not require an audience. Real friendship does not need constant validation. Real friendship just needs two people who see each other clearly and choose each other anyway. So if you are watching this and you are in a friendship where you are always giving and never receiving, where you feel drained instead of energized, where you make excuses for their behavior over and over again, where something feels off, but you cannot quite name it, ask yourself this: are they really your friend? Or are you just their audience? Because the people who truly love you do not need an audience. They just need you. And you deserve someone who sees you as a partner, not a prop in their performance. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you considered your closest friend? How did you handle it? What did you learn? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing right now. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these videos and connect with others who understand. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. I share experiences like this every week because I believe that when we share our truths, we help each other heal. Also, if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share this video with them. You never know whose life you might change with a simple click. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this community. I wish you clarity in your friendships, courage in your boundaries, and the wisdom to know that you deserve people who show up for you the way you show up for them. Take care of yourselves. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a room full of lies into a life full of truth.